Hi, I'm Marc, and on this channel I talk about UK politics and Brexit. The British Secretary of State for Business and Trade, that's Kemi Badenoch, has accused the European Union of rejecting the introduction of tariffs or the delay of it for electric vehicles after Brexit for ideological reasons. Badenoch made the statement during an interview with the Spectator magazine during the Conservative Party conference in Manchester. They called for the tariffs to be lifted and stressed that the EU's position was very damaging and dangerous, especially for German car manufacturers who have openly opposed the tariffs as well. While most EU member states, especially Germany, are open to a one-time extension of the tariff deadline, France has emerged as the biggest obstacle. The French government is reluctant to give in to the UK's demands. The UK and the EU have been in discussions about a possible official extension of the deadline for several months, but the EU Commission has not yet made a decision. The fundamental issue is whether electric vehicles traded between the UK and EU will be subjected to a 10% tariff from next year if less than 45% of their values comes from the region, as required by the Brexit agreements. European car manufacturers are advocating for a 3-year extension of the planned implementation, and they want to enable the development of the battery supply chain in the region. They argue that imposing tariffs could cost the industry 4.3 billion euros over the next 3 years and give Chinese competitors a competitive advantage. In recent weeks, the European Automobile Manufacturers Association has increased pressure to delay the imposition on tariffs on electric vehicles. They warned that these tariffs could lead to a reduction in production of 480,000 vehicles in the region over the next 3 years as well. French government sources have reportedly said Paris is reluctant to delay post-Brexit tariffs set to hit EVs traded between the UK and the EU in both directions. Under the UK-EU post-Brexit trade deal, EVs need to have 45% EU or UK content from 24, with a 50 to 60% requirement for battery cells and packs. And earlier this year, I already mentioned that the Automobile Manufacturers Association warned that this could cost really a lot, namely those 4.3 billion euros over the next 3 years. Luca De Meo, the ACEA president and CEO of Renault Group, issued a plea to the European Commission to act immediately. He said, "There is a very simple and straightforward solution. Extend the current phase-in period for battery rules by 3 years. We urged the Commission to do the right thing." While automakers in the UK or the EU have not built up their EV supply chain sufficiently to meet these tighter requirements, France is reportedly concerned that allowing a delay until 2027 on these tariffs would also benefit Chinese firms. The French government also does not want to delay the levy, as it is concerned this action would have the appearance of giving in to UK demands, as Bloomberg reported. Additionally, Reuters reports that France, by agreeing to delay, would effectively reopen a UK-EU deal that took a considerable time in negotiating. Speaking to The Guardian in September, European Commissioner Thierry Breton said that the EU could not change Brexit agreements to appease the automotive industry. What has been negotiated, and I think it's very important to stick to a treaty when it has been so difficult to do it, he said. But there are indeed more Brexit issues for the UK than just this, because after leaving the European Union, Britain hoped to become a strong independent tech regulator, more pro-business than Brussels and more proactive than Washington. Post-Brexit reality is complicating this plan. Viewed from London, the EU is too tough on tech and the US is too weak. And the UK aimed to offer a compromised third path as a uniquely progressive regulator, as it was said by Christina Caffarra, a leading London-based antitrust economist. But in a post-Brexit world, Caffarra says that this goal comes indeed under challenge. When tough decisions are required, the UK's small size and diminishing geopolitical sway force it to fall in line with one of the more prominent players. Antitrust underlines the British struggle to exert an independent third path. Within the EU, Brussels decided on competition policy. The European Commission has handed billions of euros in fines to Microsoft, Google, and other Silicon Valley powerhouses. The Union recently entered into force the Digital Markets Act, the DMA, designed to rein in a handful of digital gatekeepers. I made a video on this, so have a look in the old EU playlist. In contrast, political gridlock has prevented the US from passing significant tech regulation. While the Biden administration has launched an antitrust campaign, filing landmark cases against Google and Amazon, it must win these cases in court, and the jury is out whether it will succeed. Outside of the EU, the UK authorities enjoy newfound freedom to block big tech mergers or issue fines and order behavioral remedies. Well, the country's Competitions and Markets Authority, the CMA, is in theory independent there. While the pandemic and the internal political turmoil distracted the UK, the CMA enjoyed significant autonomy, cracking down on large tech companies. The UK regulator is also set to receive additional powers at some place. Under new Competition and Consumers Bill making its way through Parliament, the CMA's new Digital Markets Unit will be able to identify and impose obligations of big tech companies ex ante before they cause consumers or competitive harm. The new regulation resembles the EU's DMA, but with a crucial twist. The DMA creates a set menu of requirements and restrictions. In the point of view of the UK's Digital Markets Unit is flexible with how they impose obligations on tech companies, and this flexibility would allow them to adapt to threats as they arise. We will see if that happens. Despite these distinguishing features, the country suffers from one fundamental problem still, and that's its size. The US and the EU combine to generate around 30% of global GDP, and Britain accounts for a mere 2%. Tech companies with enormous market capital fail to treat the UK as an equal there. And while this is a problem faced by even the most significant economies, it seems particularly true in the UK. Yeah, that happens when you don't understand why others join together and believe together they are stronger. And if you want to see another video right now, the next one is right here in the end screen, as well as your chance to subscribe to my channel or to visit my newest channel, which is doing really well. I'll see you there. I'll be back.